Now then, someone asked me to show you how to make a pasty. Beautiful, I'm going to enjoy this. And here's how I made it. Thank you. Okay, today we're going to be making pasties. And to make a good pasty you have to have a good pastry. Today I'm going to make short pastry and I'm going to show you how I make it and a few of the pitfalls. Flour, 10 ounces. Cooking and proper butter. I'm going to use half butter and half cooking. That gives you a nice rich pastry. So that's 2.3 of butter. I've got 10 ounces of flour. So for a good pastry you need half the quantity of fat to flour. Okay, so I've got 10 ounces of flour. Now that can be plain or self-raising, it doesn't matter. I'm going to add a little tiny bit of baking powder to it, and that just provides a little bit of puffiness to the actual pastries. And I'm not going to put a lot in. There's a teaspoon there, just a level teaspoon. So I'm just going to mix that up. You can use a bowl, of course. I'm not going to use a bowl. I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way, and I'm just going to pinch out all this cooking. If you wanted a real rich pastry, then butter all the way. But butter is expensive, and cooking is quite cheap. Cooking is actually designed for baking. Pastry will work with cheap margarine. That's what we used to use in the industry. The cheapest margarine that money can buy. So cooking is quite nice. I like using cooking. And as I say, it's for baking. And all we're going to do now, I'm going to rub in all this fat into the flour. So that's 10 ounces of flour and 5 ounces of fat. That's 2.5 of butter and 2.5 of cooking. If you wanted to do 3 of butter and 2 of cooking, it isn't going to make any difference, not at all. And then when I finish rubbing in, which I shall now speed up, I'll show you the most important thing in the preparation of pastry. It looks a messy business doing it this way, but it's actually quite a nice way. Rubbing in just means making sure that all the fat is granular, very small in the actual flour, and also of course it keep it light and keep it fluffy. Introduce lots of air, lots of height there, let the flour and the fat mix all come down together. Okay, so that's what you're looking for. No big chunks of fat in there. You can have 1 or 2, it doesn't really matter that much, but primarily it's all got to be more or less granulated. A couple of big chunks isn't going to make a difference. Now, this is the most important thing now with short pastry. This is called short pastry, and I'm going to show you why in a minute. All we need to do now is introduce a little bit of water. You can salt the flour. Because I've used salted butter, I'm not going to add any more salt. You can always add a bit of salt when you're eating it. So all I've got here, cold water. So I can't tell you how much cold water to put in. It's just a case of drop a bit in like this and introduce the mix to the water. If you put too much water in, you're screwed. So do it very gently, and the most important thing is not to over mix the dough, the pastry. If you over mix it, then you're not going to have a nice light fluffy melt in the mouth pastry. If the pastry's no good in your pasty, then the whole pasty is not going to be good at all. And there's something nice about getting your hands dirty. I'll be honest, at work when I was a chef I'd use a Hobart machine for this. But the most important thing is don't overmix. And it's exactly the same now. Do not overmix, do not put too much water in. You want enough water just to form a paste. I think that's pretty much going to be the water situation there. It sticks to your fingers, but in a minute it'll come off. So I'm not really mixing it together, I'm just gathering up all of the flour, make sure it's all together in the actual pastry. And from this point is what you might call kneading, which you do not do on short pastry. You do not knead short pastry. Just introduce the water, form a paste, short pastry done. You'll find that the actual pastry will pick up all these little bits around the actual worktop, and that's coming together quite nicely now. So I've made sure that my worktop, of course, is nice and clean. Okay, now that's mixed together. So that is short pastry. Do not mix any further than that, and I'll now show you why it's called short pastry, and I shall also do a little demonstration on what happens if you overmix it. So, short pastry. Now this is why it's called short pastry. Okay, I'm going to grab a bit there and I'm going to pull, and it comes away very short strands, so there's no stretchiness. The reason there's no stretchiness is because in the flour is gluten, and by over kneading you extract the gluten. So I'm now going to take a bit of pastry like that, and I'm going to mix it down. So this is what you do when you're making bread rolls, because on a bread roll you need to knead your dough. But this isn't a dough, this is a pastry. Okay, so there's literally, I don't know, about 30 seconds maybe. I'll keep going for about a minute. So this is what you don't want in your pastry. This is probably what you'd all have made your jam tarts with as kids when mother had finished making the pastry. That's how I started anyway. Now watch what happens when you pull it apart now. See it stretching? Stretching, it's not breaking, and the more you mix it, the more you over mix it, the longer that stretch will be. Now this is actually self-raising flour, but it's not strong flour as they call it, so it's not got too much gluten in. But see it stretching, stretching, and if you take a bit of that, there's no stretching at all, it just comes away. So that is going in the bin because I've overmixed it. No good. I'm just now going to set this aside for half an hour, literally cover it up just while I prepare the mix. You always want to let your pastry rest for half an hour at least. Thank you very much. On to the filling now. Swede, carrot, onion, spud. Ah, carrot, everyone's going in a pasty. Well, I love carrot, so I put carrots in my pasties, yes, love it. Not meant to be in a pasty, of course. It should just be potato, swede and onion. Okay, and the next thing we need is meat. Now, minced beef, everyone's going. You don't make pasties with minced beef? Well, I do. Pasties should be made with skirt. That's what you should make a pasty from. But I buy, now I'm on my own, I buy a large thing of mince and I freeze it down into little blocks. And just stick it in there thus. Da-da-dum-da-dum. Beautiful. And then we need a bit of seasoning. I'm going to wash my hands. Ground black pepper. For me, it's got to be black pepper and lots of it. Look at this, look. Get in there, my son. Do not mess around with the black pepper in a tiddy oggy. Get it in there. And obviously some salt again, freshly ground. Now, that's enough for me. Okay. Once I've done that, I'm going to put half an egg in my pasty. One egg. And that again helps bind it. And the other half of the egg I'll use for egg wash. I only want to put half an egg in. And the rest of that I shall use for egg wash. I'm going to pop that in the fridge for the minute. Now then, you've got to get your hands involved here. Get in there, my son. Get it all mixed up. So in here, look, there's sweet potato, onion, minced beef, should be skirt. So, there's me filling. Beautiful. Again, I'm going to put that to one side in the fridge. The next stage is rolling, rolling, rolling. One baking tray, non-stick. Got my meat ready, and in it goes. I'm going to make a great big long one. Get in there, my son. And all I'm doing here, look, just putting a bit of wash around the sides, so when I flip it over, it'll seal. And then it's just a case of nice and carefully, oops, bit of a break there, but there you go. You'll know you can have a nice light pastry if it's not easy to handle. If it's easy to handle, then it's not going to be a nice light pastry. Now, and then I'm just going to crimp it together any way I fancy, it doesn't matter how. Make sure you've got some beautiful. And here we go. And of course, with all pasties, you've got to have a bit of this going on, haven't you? I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to put that there. And that's going to go in the fridge, because I don't want to eat it for about another 3 hours. Okay, here we go. Oven is on. That's been in the fridge for about 2 hours. No need to put it in the fridge. I've only put it in the fridge just because I didn't want to eat the pasty at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But now I wish to eat. Okay, that's it, egg washed. That's now going in the oven on gas mark 8, and I'm going to turn it down to gas mark 7 in about 15 minutes. All I've got to do now is wait to eat it. Go on, my son, look at that now. That's a big old pasty, that. Now have. Go on, my son. That's a big old pasty, that.